Hey everyone, and welcome back to another explainer. So today, we're doing something really fun. We are going to visualize a world most of us never get to see up close. We're talking about the highly structured, bright, and orderly world of maritime disciplinary law. Think about it. When you're on a massive vessel right in the middle of the ocean, you can't exactly call the local police if someone breaks a rule, right? The ship has to function like its own floating city. And the captain? Well, they're the ultimate authority. But here's the catch. That authority isn't absolute. It's actually bound by a very strict, highly specific set of rules. We're calling our approach today the Captain's Rulebook, and we're going to dive straight into exactly how order and fairness are maintained at sea. Step by step, let's make this super easy to understand.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our step-by-step map for today. First, rules of the high seas. Second, the true cost of smuggling. Third, the official logbook protocol. And finally, 4, see you in court.
Starting us off with Section 1, Rules of the High Seas. Out on the water, you absolutely need crisp order, but you also need total fairness to protect the seafarers. To really picture how a captain enforces the rules, we first need to know what exact infractions we're talking about. The legal framework we're analyzing today highlights a few specific offenses. We're looking at the smuggling of goods, desertion or being absent without leave, basically going AWOL, general offenses against discipline, and any act of misconduct where the seafarer's employment agreement imposes a fine. It's a very clean, straightforward list. The law really doesn't leave things to the imagination here. If a sailor crosses one of these very strict boundaries, well, the disciplinary machinery of the ship starts turning.
Moving right along to Section 2, the true cost of smuggling.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real-world consequences of that first major offense, smuggling. Under Section 100, subsection 1 of this framework, if a seafarer is convicted of smuggling goods and that smuggling causes a loss or damage to the master or the shipowner, there is a very direct financial consequence. It's simple math. You cost the ship money, you pay the ship back directly. How does that actually work? Well, the law allows the master to retain a sufficient sum from the seafarer's wages to reimburse that exact loss. It could be a part of their wages or the whole shebang. It's a perfectly balanced equation. The action creates the consequence, ensuring the shipowner isn't left footing the bill for a crew member's illegal side hustle. But listen to this. The consequences do not stop at just a paycheck. A continuous discharge certificate, or CDC, along with a seafarer's identity document, is basically the golden ticket for anyone working at sea. Literally, it is your professional lifeblood. Under subsection 2 of the law, if you're convicted of smuggling, the Director General wields the swift authority to step in and say that these vital documents are canceled or suspended for a specified period. So not only are you reimbursing the financial loss out of pocket, but you could actually lose your ability to work on ships entirely. It's a massive, massive career impact, and it's designed to be an incredibly strong deterrent.
Which brings us to Section 3, the official logbook protocol.
Okay, this is where the law becomes an absolutely fascinating visual checklist. To legally enforce a fine for misconduct or desertion, a master must unlock this procedural protocol in perfect chronological order. Picture this. If the captain wants to find a sailor, they can't just yell it across the deck in the heat of the moment. No way. They have to follow this exact 3-step process. Step 1, an entry of the offense has to be formally made in the official logbook. Step 2, and I just love the fairness built into this part, the offender must actually be furnished with a physical copy of that entry, and it must be read over to them distinctly and audibly. And get this, it has to happen before the vessel arrives at its next port or if there are already docks before they depart. They have an absolute right to hear the charge aloud. Then step 3, the sailor's reply, whatever it might be, must also be officially entered into the logbook. Boom, you now have a perfectly transparent, two-sided record of the incident. Now, to guarantee that step 1 is actually valid, that initial entry in the official logbook requires mandatory signatures. It can't just be scribbled in by some random crewmate. It absolutely must be signed by the master of the vessel, and crucially, it must also be signed by the officer on watch. This two-signature requirement adds this brilliant layer of corroboration. It completely ensures that at least 2 figures of authority on the ship officially verify that the infraction was recorded properly.
And that takes us to our final part, Section 4, see you in court.
So what exactly happens when all of this internal ship protocol leaves the ocean and meets the actual legal system back on dry land? Well, get ready for a massive courtroom twist. The legal framework states that in any subsequent proceedings, if the required logbook entries aren't produced or proved, the court hearing the case may, in its discretion, flat out refuse to receive evidence of the offense or act of misconduct. Just think about how huge that is. If the captain skipped any of those exact step-by-step logbook requirements we just looked at, say they forgot a signature, or they didn't read it audibly to the sailor, or they forgot to log the reply, the court can completely throw the evidence out. So the crucial takeaway here is incredibly simple to visualize. No proof of protocol means the court throws it out. This is the ultimate balancing mechanism of maritime law. It places an immense, strict burden of compliance right back on the captain's shoulders. Sure, the captain has incredible power to fine and discipline, but only if they operate with total administrative fairness. This built-in consequence strongly protects the seafarer from any arbitrary punishment. If the captain doesn't follow the rules of the logbook to the letter, their entire case against the sailor completely collapses. It really is a wonderfully logical system of checks and balances. And that wraps up our look at the captain's rulebook. It leaves us with a really fascinating question to ponder, honestly. How does this strict, step-by-step, highly documented fairness on ships compare to workplace discipline back on dry land? Think about it. If your boss wants to write you up, are they held to this level of rigorous, audible, two-signature requirement before it even counts? It really makes you appreciate the crisp, balanced logic of maritime law, doesn't it? Thank you so much for joining me to visualize and explore this framework today. Keep learning, keep asking great questions, and I will see you on the next explainer.